With us now from McLean, Virginia, is the former U.S. Senator from Tennessee, Senator Fred Thompson. He serves on the advisory board of Secure America Now. And Senator Thompson, thanks so much for being with us today.
Thank you. Good to be with you again.
Well, Barack Obama holds big leads in the swing states of Florida, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. Is Mitt Romney on the brink of losing this election, and can he even win without these states?
No, I'm afraid I have to even challenge your assumptions there. We don't know anymore. I think these pollsters have made it so that Americans can't really tell what to believe about it. It's clear, one thing, is that the assumptions that you use going into these polls are extremely important. And from what we can find out, they're basing their poll results on assumptions as to who's going to turn out, Democrat, Republican, Independent, and they're heavily skewed toward the Democrats. Rasmussen, on the other hand, has it a dead even race. I think Gallup, I know in recent times, has had it about a dead even race. And a lot of these other polls are coming from CBS and the New York Times and the Washington Post. And I think they're trying to put this election away with early voting coming on now, even before the first debate, and discourage the turnout for Romney. And so I don't believe anything I read about polls.
Senator, what will decide this election? You touched on the Rasmussen poll, which has both candidates at 46%, pretty even. What do you think will decide the election? Is it going to be all about turnout?
Well, yeah, I think turnout is going to be extremely important, and that's why I think that it's probably a dead even race. There's no question that the people who are concerned about the direction of this country are extremely highly motivated. From all indications, a lot of the motivation on Obama's side that was there last time is not there this time. Now, the power of an incumbent president is not to be minimized. He can do things like, for example, he has strewn projects and pork all over the state of Ohio. He announces a new project every couple of days, a new millions of dollars that the government is going to put into the state, and all of that. And he can certainly raise the money to support a big turnout, especially with early voting. So that's not to be minimized. But on the other hand, there are a lot of people who really think that we're at a turning point in this country. And that's the overall overarching issue as far as I'm concerned. What kind of country are we going to be? Are we going to be Western Europe? Or are we going to be the United States of America? And we can't continue on the direction that we're continuing. This is not just a matter of current unemployment numbers, as bad as they are, or current economic conditions overall. It's about the direction of the country and whether or not we can continue to spend ourselves into thinking that prosperity is just right around the corner. It's never worked anywhere in the world. It's not working currently now in other places in the world as they're scrambling to do some of the things that we ought to be doing. But yet that's the basis of the Obama candidacy and presumably what we would see in the next 4 years.
Senator, you went up against Mitt Romney in the 2008 primary when you ran for the Republican nomination for president, so you got to know him pretty well. Given the current political and economic climate, why do you think he isn't doing better?
Well, again, you have to start out with the assumption. I mean, we don't know how well he is doing. I think he's probably doing better than the pundits would have you believe, or the polls would indicate, number one. But, a candidacy is made up of a lot of different things. It's made up of decision making, it's made up of organization, it's made up of money and the candidate himself and the message and what the people think about all of that. I would like to see more of, a lot of people say that, he ought to be more specific in his policies. I don't necessarily subscribe to that. And the policies he's been specific about, they've distorted and used against him and created outright fabrications, such as that he's going to tax the middle class when he gets in, made up out of out of the whole cloth. I think that an overarching vision of what's wrong with America, the problems that we face, the nature of them, where we stand in the world, what kind of a country we want to be, and what we need to do in order to maintain the kind of status, prosperity, and power that we have had almost since the beginning of this nation.
Senator, the pundits and the pollsters are also saying that Republicans might have a hard time winning back the Senate. They say that some likely GOP victories are now in jeopardy. Do you see the Republicans winning back the Senate or no?
I think it's going to be extremely close. I think that there's one or two turnovers that you can pretty much count on that'll go from Democrat to Republican. But there's looks like a few that the Democrats, that the Republicans were hoping for, that they're having difficulty with. But again, all these races are pretty close, and just about all of them. And you know, just the fact that they are so close, with an incumbent president, and the power of a national campaign, and all of that, and the coattails that one would think that Obama would have if he's leading the way they say he is, it's still a question of not just will we do well, but whether or not the Republicans will actually take over the Senate. And I think most everybody acknowledges Republicans will, in all likelihood, keep the House. So I think that bodes pretty well across the board.
All right, let's turn to foreign affairs. You're on the board of Secure America Now, an organization aimed at protecting our nation against terrorist infiltration, attack, and capitulation to our enemies. How should we view Iranian President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad's recent remarks about creating a new world order and about annihilating Israel?
Well, it's the same old, same old. I'm afraid that we have gotten so used to this that it's lost its sense of outrage with regard to a lot of people. But they are a threat. They're a threat to the world. They're a specific threat, immediate threat to Israel, and they're making no bones about it. Right now, you know, they're flaunting a new drone, and really don't seem to be trying to cover up what they're doing very well. As we sit back and tell them that this won't do, and they can't do that, while we're giving every indication that we have become weak in our decision making and our resolve across the board internationally, and that we're very unlikely to do anything to stop them when they finally get to that stage where they are on the verge of creating a bomb. I think it's very ironic that he still continues to get invitations from the United Nations, an organization in the first article of the United Nations is to maintain peace in the country and to do in the world, and to do things that will put a stop to violence. And you have a man here who's pledged to wiping a sovereign country off the face of the earth. So apparently a lot of people don't take him seriously. I do. Ruthless, maniacal dictators in the world's history have shown us that they sometimes carry out exactly the threats that they issue, and I think we need to be very mindful of that.
Now, turning to President Obama's address yesterday before the UN, the president said he will not stand for religious insults. Critics say his speech offered very little confidence to those living in the firing line of a potentially nuclear Iran. What did you make of the president's speech, and was it a Jimmy Carter moment by the president?
Well, as far as the speech goes, part of it could have been given by George W. Bush or any number of other people. I think that here on the brink of election, where that's obviously all the president is thinking about, he gave a speech that was designed more for American ears than the ears of the international community. He laid down some markers and things like that, but of course he could have done more, and he could have done a lot better in pointing out that the United States has been a force for peace in this world, and has sacrificed greatly for the freedom of others, and make no apology for that. But spending time on the the so-called film that apparently nobody's ever seen as a reason, if not an excuse, for the violence all across the Middle East and beyond, only gives encouragement to those who use such things. And you know, it was not as bad as probably his policies would indicate, because he's running for re-election, and I think he's concerned now that the curtain has been removed from his foreign policy expertise, and the handle that he's got on that, that the American people are going to be concerned about that too. So he was better than his policies would indicate.
Last question, Senator. You have described President Obama's foreign policy as a complete failure. What would a second Obama term mean for U.S. national security and our position in the world?
Well, it would continue to weaken it if he continues the same policy. You know, we've had a history for several decades now of trying to demonstrate to the world that when things get tough, you know, we become absent. You know, you can go back to the Khobar Towers or the Iranian hostage situation. You can come on down to our embassies in Mogadishu and Tanzania, the USS Cole. All those things were done with pretty much with impunity. The big change in our policies was after September 11. I think the radical Islamists were stunned when we reacted the way we did, but now we're back to Obama. First thing he did in office was go down to Cairo and apologize for the West's past misdeeds toward Islam. And since that time, you know, he's been determined to get out of Iraq and Afghanistan as quickly as possible for political reasons, not based on the facts on the ground or the fact that we'd be giving up hard-won gains in both of those places, thereby making it much more likely in the future that young Americans would be called on to defend their vital interest in other places. And now you can look at Syria, you can look at Iran and what they're doing. It's all been rhetoric, it's all been United Nations related, it's all been international community, it's all been finally about sanctions, which are inconvenient for the Iranians, but have nothing to do with their nuclear weapons program. So why wouldn't Ahmadinejad or anyone else in the world, the terrorists in the world, think that they could pretty much do what they wanted to with impunity as long as this man is president?
Senator Fred Thompson, thanks so much for being with us today.
Thank you.
And thank you for watching Newsmax TV.